Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast, where you'll be not only allowed, but encouraged to dream big dreams and imagine the very best future for yourself and your family. Throw away expectations and perfection and embrace the messy beauty of what it means to be a marvelous mom. I'm your host, Kirsten Tyrell, and I can't wait to help you discover what makes you marvelous. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited because we're going to learn how to feed our families better. And before you click away and you're like, oh, don't guilt me into being a better version of myself, this is going to be really, really good because I've got somebody who is really smart in this aspect. And I truly believe that what makes the Marvelous Moms community so great is that we have people from all different backgrounds who maybe if it's a weakness for you, it's a strength for our guest today. And she's going to help it to become a strength for you. So even if you have a couple of takeaways today and this helps you to make one change or two changes in your family's healthy eating, then stick around because this is going to be great. So thank you for being here, Lahana. I'm so excited to share your story with the Marvelous Moms community.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and sharing with your community. I'm so excited.
Of course. So you are the CEO and founder of Thrival Nutrition, but you are a mom first and foremost. Obviously, those are very interconnected. So let's start by hearing about your mom life. How old are your children? What is kind of your mommy status as of right now?
Yeah, I have two kiddos. I have a boy, Isaiah, who's 8, and then a girl, Faith, who is 5. And then, I guess Thrival could be considered my third baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love it.
And so there's just a young stage, but me and my husband are also really excited to be slowly getting out of the baby stage. As wonderful as that is, we are very excited that they're becoming more independent and, also self-sustaining a little bit, not having to be like their beck and call every single time, they can get their own snacks and all that fun stuff. So I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving the stage.
Yep. Good. I feel you on that because we're just hitting there as well. We have you have kids like almost like ours. We have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So just one more in there, kind of yours is right in the middle. And that's, there's nothing, I'm sorry, moms who are just starting out with babies, but there's nothing that is a better birth control than being around a brand new mom. And I was just with my sister who just had a baby and it's so blissful and it's so wonderful. And those babies are so precious, but you instantly go back to like how the lack of sleep that you had and just that lifestyle is a totally different season than when you're done with diapers. And it's a little bit of like a sad thing. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to buy diapers again. I kind of want to buy diapers for somebody because I know what like a stress alleviator that is to not have to think about it. But anyway, I'm there with you.
Both. You have to take everything with each season, like you said. I mean, I love that my daughter, we were just by the pool yesterday and she was just sitting with me and just like, enjoying the sun, no tantrums. And then behind me is a big group of moms and babies are going crazy. And I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm also very glad like that season has gone and passed. And now we're at this cool little like sunbathing with my daughter.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. Every season gets more and more fun. I remember my mom telling me that when I had babies, like, I don't want them to get bigger. She's like, I promise it gets more fun. Every single stage is more fun. And I'm still not sure if I believe that is true of like the teenager years, because just as, you know what I mean? Like just as many good things you hear, there are more bad things of people telling you like what that entails. So anyway, I'm right there with you. So let's talk a little bit about how Thrival Nutrition was created. How long ago did you build this? Was it about the same time you became a mother? A little bit after? Because it sounds like you kind of like to wear many hats. You're an entrepreneur at heart and you're also a mom. And so let's hear a little bit of that kind of birth story of your business.
Yeah. So actually, ever since I was in kindergarten, I always knew like I had this obsession with health and I loved helping people. And so actually, I always knew I wanted to be like a doctor. That was like my end goal. Like I knew that when I was 5, I went all through school, kind of, going through that, like I'm gonna be a doctor and help people. And when I was a senior, me and my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, started early, right? So I got pregnant at 18 and had my son and, doing the same thing, thinking I was going to be a doctor, getting ready to apply to like PA school. And yes, I like literally picked up my school books 2 days after I gave birth to start the new semester. And so things were just, I was trying to survive. And then when I was pregnant with my daughter, we got married, I got pregnant with my daughter. something like in me changed. And I was like, what I'm doing, a lot of the classes I was taking, like pharmacology, it has a place. But I was just like, this is not what I want for my family. Like the mindset of just like, if you have this, this is the pill you take. And I knew there was so
Mm-hmm.
much more to life than that. And being a mom, so I had 2 kids. I was like, I want to like raise my kids to be healthy. I don't want them to have to like rely on medication. Of course, there's a time and a place for it. And I'm so thankful for the emergency
Yeah.
medicine we have. But I was just like, I want more. And so that kind of switched me to finishing my degree in nutrition because I was a
Mm.
mom now. And one, I also just wanted to not be that doctor hours as well. I wanted to be
Yeah.
flexible for my kids, be there for my kids. But this way, I was still able to fulfill that love of like helping people with their health. And to me, a much like, this is just my calling. This is what I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able to stay at home with my daughter for the first year, which was fantastic. And so during that year, I am an entrepreneur at heart. So I started to get a little itchy, like, okay, I want to do something else now. I love being at home with her, but I just want to do something. So
Mm-hmm.
we founded Thrival, I think when my daughter was like 9 months or 10 months old. And at that point, it was really just blogging, it was podcasting, it was really just getting like free resources out there as I finished my degree and stuff. And that's kind of where it was founded. And then when we moved to Texas, which was like 2.5 years ago at this point, we started like the one-on-one side of the business, like helping people one-on-one. I was done with my degree. I was done with my board certification. So I was really like wanting that one-on-one help with women. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just found my love. Being a mom just opened up my eyes into like, whoa, it is not just my health that I'm worried about. It is now like my whole family. And I just want to do that the right way and what I have control of.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think that that's what, if people are to pick up on certain themes here on even just this podcast and the type of guests I tend to have on, the type of stories, a lot of times that is kind of what happens, right? Like you take what you maybe didn't even know was your passion and you take what you're really good at and then you take that mommy element and you're able to combine it and create something really cool. It's almost like finding your genius zone by combining all of those elements. And so I'm sure if you would have set out, I mean, your journey would look very different had you not had children. And it just kind of
Yeah.
changes the way that you're meant to put things out into the world because everything we create and everything that we share with other women or other people is a compilation of our own experiences, right? So it makes complete sense that that was really all formed and became a lot more cohesive when you brought all those elements together. And I totally see that in my own business. Within Marvelous Moms Club, it started out as a blog, it started as a podcast, not even so much a blog, and now it's shifting into this huge community and it can serve a higher purpose than what it started out as. So I love it. I love hearing the evolution of things. It's like my favorite thing ever to hear how things started and then what they've evolved to be. And looking at what you guys have created, it really is amazing because somebody like me who maybe is on the starting out end of what you do to come to your website and to kind of see that there's steps to follow or there's somebody who's already mastered this. This is the beautiful thing about businesses and like self-made entrepreneurs is these people have trudged through and they've figured it out. Like it's not just your degree that's made you an expert on this, it's life experience. It's that you've implemented these things. I know you told me you cook 3 meals a day for your family. That's something not
I do.
everybody is at a status of being able to do yet. But if you've found a way to make that happen and you're providing healthy, nutritious value to your family, tell us how to do it, right? Like, of course, we want that. So I love it so much.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about, I mean, for a beginner, we all know we need to eat healthier. We all know that we need these components in our life to be happier. What would you say to somebody like, I don't know, me, who's overwhelmed by the concept of like doing a whole overhaul and trying to be healthier? And I'll kind of tell you what I've been doing is just changing a little bit here and there and like being aware of my kids' individual food sensitivities. So we're not changing and throwing away all the milk. We just have rice milk and dairy milk because some kids can and some kids can't. What would be kind of your tips before I endlessly talk about my experience on what you've kind of done to coach and help other mothers in the same situation?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, the earlier the better. And so
Mm-hmm.
I will be the first person to tell you my son had the junkiest diet, right? So I was young. I was 18. I listened to my docs, I listened to my mom, I listened to everyone else in the world. And they were just like, do rice cereal, do this, do this. Oh, have Doritos, have Cheetos, like you name it. So like I did not start
Mhm.
off perfect whatsoever. Like the standard American diet, like honestly, processed crap food. I was also young, so I couldn't really afford a lot. And
Yeah.
so at the time, when I changed degrees was when the time that I was like, whoa, let's start shifting the way that we're eating. I obviously have to practice what I preach. This is something that is meaningful to me. And of course, I want to raise healthy kids. So we did the same. We started off like you. We started with just a little bit here and there. The main offenders is the best place to start, right? So anything that's, in a bag or processed or anything like that is usually a key sign of, you're eating this and not something fresh and wholesome. And so
Mhm.
something that I wanted to implement, so as we kind of, instead of potato chips, which there are healthier options, we just got a healthier option of potato chips. Instead of dairy
Mhm.
milk, we did switch to like coconut milk or almond milk. Because yes, there is so much bio-individuality in each adult and each child. Different foods react well with different kids. But my goal was just to really, start off with what we have and then just
Mhm.
make a better choice, a better option. And there's so many out there. So instead
Yeah.
of, flour tortillas, for an example, there's siete tortillas, which are almond flour. And that's not jumping on, quote unquote, the gluten-free train. That's more so of like everything we're eating. Is it nutrient dense? Is it feeding
Mhm.
my cells to do what they are meant to do? So
Yeah.
with my family, I really wanted to implement, so obviously, making those small changes, but really changing the mindset of the food that we're eating.
Mhm.
So everything we put in our mouth, and we're not perfect. We're all humans. We're all going to eat something really junky and that's okay. But for the most part of like what I'm bringing into the home, is it nourishing me? Is it benefiting me? And so I can even see it in my kids
Yeah.
as like we've put this and ingrained it in their minds of what you're eating. Is this going to provide energy? Is this going to provide nutrients? Because when our bellies are grumbling and we're hungry, it's not just our body saying like, hey, yo, I'm hungry, like put anything in me. It's saying, hey, we need fuel so we can continue working. Obviously, liver's working, your lungs are working, your heart's working. We need fuel so we can continue chugging along really healthy. And so
Yeah.
I tried to teach that to my kids so they can just look at food in a different way, which is so important, is changing that mindset and having that expectation. And you can start,
Right.
as young as possible. And so, yes, my 1 year old probably looked at me like, huh? But now, as I've ingrained that over the years, they're getting it. My 5 year old
Yeah.
totally gets it. An apple is healthier than Cheetos. And she
Right.
will choose something better. And my 8 year old, we have this, we're in Austin, Texas, and we have this really
Mhm.
awesome like salad bar. And he's like, I want to go to Mad Grains for dinner, not, Burger King or something. So it will pay off in the end, even though you may
Yeah.
feel like you're not doing anything and it's not
Mhm.
sticking. It is sticking. It is sticking, I promise. So,
Yeah.
starting with making a couple of um, changes in the way you're eating. So, again, anything packaged or processed, like I know sometimes people have a budget to stay on, but go to like Whole Foods because there's a much better option there for getting a healthier version of chips or tortillas or pasta or I mean you name it. So that's where I would start
Right.
and just kind of pick one thing at a time. Same with spices. This is something so minuscule, but you don't just throw out all your spices and go to the store and buy like your salt, pepper, organic chili powder, and all that. You just finish one, then you just go to
Mhm.
the store and buy a better quality. And slowly,
Yeah.
before you know it, you will have a complete pantry makeover.
That is so true. That's kind of what we've been in the process of doing, where it's very tempting if you've been on like any kind of diet train or whatever, like where you decide to do keto or you decide to do gluten free and you throw away everything and then it kind of creeps back in because the diet changes and it's so extreme that you're like overwhelmed by it. But I've noticed that for us, just kind of taking it one little element at a time, it is so true because my kids, like, I have another question for you after I tell you this, but my
Yeah.
kids really do have so much more awareness of how they feel with their food, and I'm not really sure if we've so much taught that or if they're just, I mean, I guess we have in a roundabout way. We've talked about the value of foods, and not in a way of like this is going to make you fat or whatever. It's just like
Yes.
look at what's in this food. The other day my son wanted to buy Lunchables and I was like, "Can you just turn it over?" He's 7. And I said, "Look how many ingredients there are. There's so many that they had to make it so small that you can't even read them all." And I said, "Do you think food has this many parts? Like, do you think a cracker should have this many ingredients?" And of course, he doesn't really understand that entirely. But I said, "We can do Lunchables, but we're making them on our own. We're going to go buy organic crackers because they don't have chemicals in them that are not food, you know? And so they're still
Hmm.
packaged, but it's a healthier, we're not buying Ritz crackers. We're buying a better brand that's organic and doesn't have those additives." And they're starting to learn like, oh, this actually doesn't make me feel bad. This actually makes me feel good and it gives me energy. So, my question for you, because I believe all of that is true, and I do think we had to start from a young age, but here's the thing. And you mentioned you came from a background too where it was Doritos and Cheetos and que sera, sera, right? I did as well. Like there was just no boundary with food. It was Squeeze Its and Capri Suns and Twinkies. And honestly, the properties of food have changed even from the 90s to now. Like things that are terrible for you now weren't as bad for you then in terms of additives and stuff. But
Hmm.
how have you had a struggle with, yes, you're introducing your children at a young age from the very beginning to healthy food, but you're phasing out your own bad habits. So maybe you have the stash of like the foods you'd never give them. How have you been able to train yourself to ease off of those? Um, or maybe you haven't. I don't know. Maybe you have a deep dark secret where you have Oreos and chemically foods in the bottom or top shelf of the pantry.
Well, let me think. That's a good question. So I think when me personally, when I switched degrees, I was kind of ready. Like I was just like, done.
Mhm.
I'm done. I'm throwing everything out. No, but I just was just like over it. I was so ready just to feel optimal and to, I don't know,
Yeah.
get done with it. So that was really easy for me.
Mhm.
But I won't deny, I have like my little organic dark chocolate hidden in the pantry along with some other things. My daughter here is hearing me. She's like, "Dark chocolate? Where, mom?"
Where can I find what shelf is this on?
So I still, have my little indulgences, but like I said, I always pick the healthier version of it. And so I personally, yeah, I was just ready to toss it. I mean, there was nothing that I feel like I'm missing because, so like I'll bake a lot. So if I'm wanting, I actually love whoopie pies. And so I
Mhm.
have a recipe on my blog that is like a healthy, gluten-free, even dairy-free whoopie pie, and I just make those and we, just kind of eat them whenever we feel like a sweet tooth is coming. So I don't feel like I'm ever deprived of anything because
Yeah.
I'm just, if I want it, I make it. And then even if I don't, have time to make it, if you go to Whole Foods, there are like these delicious cookie dough bites. I mean, I'm a sweet tooth person if you can't tell.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know, I still have it. So to me, that wasn't that hard,
That's good.
because I never struggled with a chronic illness or anything, but I could just feel how much energy and so many other different health changes that I was just hooked. I was like, wow, I
Yeah.
love feeling this way.
Right. And I think so basically too, what I can kind of derive from that is it's an education thing as well. It's not just education from the book smarts. You know, you changed degrees and that was really your focus. And of course, when something becomes your focus and your obsession, not in a bad way, but obsession can be really good. And so when it shifts, it really changes like your whole belief system, and it changes to where when your belief system changes about food and you can really see it for what it is, it doesn't take, and I'm saying this as though I've mastered this. It's not a mastery. I can feel that I'm in process. I was just saying this to my husband yesterday. I just want to feel good. Like I want to feel the
Mhm.
energy that comes from food. I want to be aware of what's happening in my body. I want to really think about what I'm putting in and what it's doing for me. And so I know I'm on the right track. But anyway, what I was saying is like the education happens not just by learning about it, but also by processing it and feeling it and having awareness. And this is true of any scenario in life. Like as you change and shift that belief system, then it's not as difficult to change the habits surrounding it. I told my husband, a lot of people start with food. They start with changing their diet and then they add exercise. For some weird reason, I actually really enjoy. I don't love exercise. Like I don't love to sweat. I actually hate to sweat. But I feel really good after I sweat, right? Like I
Yes.
hate how it tickles your skin. I hate it. I cannot do hot yoga classes. It's just so gross to me.
No.
And I mean, I do them. I sometimes I get tricked into them because they jack the heat up, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Anyway, I have discovered I'm a person who, when I'm surrounded by healthy people who are at the gym, who are working really hard on taking care of their bodies, it inspires me to want to put good things into my body. So I think it's just that active awareness and like being conscious of what you're doing instead of how much of our eating is super unconscious. We're just grabbing at stuff. We're buying the same things. We're creatures of habit. And it's just making that awareness shift of like, okay, how much am I spending on fast food? I've had this conversation with my family. How much are you going out to eat in a week? And how much could you take that away and justify buying organic foods? Maybe you just change to
Yes.
organic meats or organic dairy or something like that. People have that tendency to just stick right there in their lane and not have awareness of how simple it would be to change a couple of those habits. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And you know what? It only takes like a week. Like eat really good for a week and you can just already feel it. So it doesn't take, I mean, exercise, yeah, that's kind of pretty quick because those endorphins, but for the most part, like a week isn't that long. So even
Mm-hmm.
if I feel like, so many people, so many clients that come into me, they're like on the lower scale of, yeah, like this is how I feel. I guess I feel okay. And then eating, even just like I said, a week, they go up the scale and they're, high and they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize how tired I was. I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
how many period cramps I had before until they're at this new normal. And then if you by chance go back to kind of eating the junkier foods, you kind of go back down and you're like, wow, like now that I felt optimal, like I'm really not wanting to feel less than that. And so it
Yeah.
starts to become this shift of like, I love that feeling. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, so now you've shifted and now you're a whole entire community. Tell people where they can go and find, because I know I'm this way. I'm a bandwagon person. I'm going to hear this. If I were listening to this episode, I'd be like, "Hey, tell me where to go. Where do I start? What's the best place to go?" So tell them where to find you online.
Yes, I am under Thrival Nutrition. On Instagram and Facebook is where I'm usually hanging out, especially Instagram stories, right? That's like where you see behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
online, I am www.thrivalnutrition.com. I have recipes and my podcast is on there where I'm also interviewing, functional medicine doctors and all about different health topics. And so that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. And I love that yours isn't like it's not a singular approach. I think that what we need to do as human beings is just have an overall awareness of health. And it doesn't mean a specific diet. I think a whole blog or site just featured on one diet or one way of eating is so narrow. And I guess it serves a purpose for people who need to eat that way. It's great to have a whole collection of that. But I love that you're serving the bigger picture and that you are bringing in people of various backgrounds to kind of educate. So, guys, go ahead there, and it will also be linked in the show notes of this episode if you want to go check out more about Lahana and Thrival Nutrition because she's doing some great things over there. And I'm excited to support that and see that grow because it's something that we all need and it's inspiring. And even your website kind of to me does the same thing the gym does, where it's like, oh, I just want, I told my husband, I'm like, makes me want to eat kale and make juice.
I love that.
So, I mean, we talk about like following people on social media who inspire us and who make us feel better about ourselves. I don't feel like following people who have perfect bodies, but they don't really tell you how to have health is probably not the most inspiring. But following a feed that's going to really give you that fundamental like education and help you feel good about and excited about eating healthy and, feeding your family healthy, fill your news feed with stuff like that and it will be a place of joy when you go on social media instead of a place of stress. So I think you're creating that over on your account and so everybody should go follow you right now.
Awesome. I agree. I love that. And if I always say to people, if you're going on social and it gets you down, you probably need to do a little cleanup because even if it's just
Mhm.
for a short period of time, unfollowing friends or even family, just to be
Oh
able to
yeah.
make sure that your mindset is, right, no matter where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have two questions for you as we close this out. Number 1, are you a reader and what are you reading? And number 2, what makes you a marvelous mom?
Okay. So I am a reader. I love reading, and I'm actually like reading textbooks actually as I'm kind of going
Oh,
back to school
yeah.
for my master's. So I'm kind of consuming everything nutrition textbook wise, which
Mhm.
is amazing. So that's what I'm reading now. But I did just tell my husband, I miss reading just for fun, like those fiction books and where you kind of get lost
Yeah.
in the stories. So
Right.
I don't know. I'll have to follow back on that when I'm done studying. But making me a marvelous mom, I just think that as a mom who's wearing plenty of hats, I just think that, and tooting, I guess, my own horn for a little bit, just to be able to juggle it so well, to be able to make sure that my kids feel loved, they're nourished, they're fueled, and everyone's kind of happy, and I'm happy doing what I love and what I'm called to do. So I feel like just
Mhm.
I'm a marvelous mom by balancing all the hats and not being a hot mess, surprisingly.
That's awesome, and it's inspiring to those of us who wanna wear many hats, and we feel like that always equates to being a hot mess, so that's actually great, and I'm so happy that you feel that way about motherhood because a lot of times people are drowning in it, and I'm sure that's not to say that you don't have hard days, but that's really, really refreshing, and I love your answer so much, so thank you so much for being a guest on here and sharing your expertise. I know that it's been inspiring for me, and it will be inspiring for everybody else, so go check that out in the show notes if you guys wanna learn more about Thrival Nutrition. And again, thank you for being on here, Lahana.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, we will see you on the next episode. Have a marvelous day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to take action right now, you're feeling inspired and you're feeling enlightened, and you really want to own this role as a marvelous mom, go to the website marvelousmomsclub.com/me and create your own personal Marvelous Moms manifesto. That is a tongue twister. marvelousmomsclub.com/me. You go fill in some great information, and in the end, you'll have a beautiful manifesto to display where only you can see or the whole family can see, where you can really, really own your role as a marvelous mom and step inside those goals and those ambitions and dreams that you have to become an even more marvelous mom to your beautiful family. So again, marvelousmomsclub.com/me. We will see you over there.